phone calls from desperate relatives looking for their loved ones. Janet and Robert Cook have struggled since January to find clues and keep hope after their 19-year-old daughter, Rachel, disappeared while jogging. They're frustrated by the lack of attention for missing adults like Rachel. In 1997, Kristen Mota Ferry disappeared in Oakland, California. Parents Bob and Debbie sought outside help in mounting a search, but were devastated to learn that because their daughter was 18, she was too old to be placed in the missing children's database. They didn't give up. Thanks to their determination, a national database now exists to help find missing adults. Now, that database does exist, and according to the National Crime Information Center, there are 42,199 missing adults over the age of 18. 22,000 of them are men, and 20,000 of them are women. Well, the parents here today really need our help. They're desperately searching for their missing children, who are 18 years or older. William and Christine Sanders are here with their 13-year-old daughter, Brittany. Their oldest daughters, Candy, who's 24, and Dawn, who's 18, have been missing since August 26th. I've got to thank you for being here. Will you tell me what happened? How did they go missing?
On that date of August the 26th, my 18-year-old was dropped off at Blockbuster in the evening where she worked, and my 24-year-old, she went to pick her up around 12:30 that night, and they never returned home.
Now, Mom, tell me, when did you start to suspect something was wrong?
Well, I was the one that actually asked Candy to go and pick her up, because normally I planned on picking her up that evening. I didn't know that anything was going on until my husband woke me up. I did lay down and went to sleep.
You were tired?
And yes, when he woke me up, it was around 2:30 that morning. And he said, Chris, the girls are not home. Something's wrong. We need to go out. And I got up, got Brittany up, and we all got in the car and rode down, thinking that maybe they had a flat tire or something.
You didn't see them. You come home, then what happened?
We called the sheriff department at about 9 o'clock, and they came to the house and took a report.
In the morning?
Yeah.
What did you think happened to the girls? When you didn't see the car broken down, they hadn't come home? I mean, this is not normal behavior for these girls, is it?
No, it's not. Not at all.
So what did you think?
All kinds of ideas were going through our heads.
So what was the response from the police?
They made the report, but it was kind of slow at the beginning of it. It's like that something about the 48 hours. I guess they were given the idea that they just ran away and they'll be back in a few minutes, but it didn't happen that way.
But you kept telling them, didn't you? I know I had read some of the newspaper articles. Candy was going to go to a job interview the next day, wasn't she?
Exactly, yes. And we told them that the things that were left in the house, I know, and Candy was in her pajamas, I know that they did not go anywhere. I knew something was wrong immediately after we did not find them on the road broken down or anything. Now, I feel so horrible because I feel like if I was in that car, if I was the one that went out there to pick her up, it would have been different because
Let me interrupt you. I went through this. My wife was with our son when he was kidnapped. We never had the discussion. I never said to her, you were with Adam when he was kidnapped. There is no blame to be put on anybody. The blame is whatever happened to your daughters, whoever took them, whatever happened to them, that's the person to blame. You should never consume yourself with guilt. You had nothing to do with that. Nothing. Brittany, this has got to be really, really tough for you. I'm so proud of you to come here to share your feelings with us. These are your big sisters. You looked up to them, didn't you?
Yes.
And you miss them terribly, don't you?
Yes.
Let's take a look at what Brittany had to say about her sisters.
I think about my two sisters, Candy and Dawn, every day. I think about all of the happy times and advice they have given me. The house is really empty now, and sometimes I can't sleep at night because I miss them so much. We haven't given up hope. We know we will find you soon. If you are listening, Candy and Dawn, I love you and want you to come home.
Wow, I think you summed it up, everything there, that you miss them so much, you love them, and you want them to come home. What's the latest from the police?
They said that
he has been in touch with the police as often as he could. They don't get in touch with us. I don't hear from them unless I go there, and they don't like us to come unannounced.
You have every right to call those cops every day and say, what are you doing in the case of my missing daughters? Please. And if a detective won't talk to you, then ask for his boss, ask for a colonel, ask for a captain. And I'll give you one last piece of advice. The best way to get a missing child back is to do what you're doing now. Keep talking about it, show the pictures, talk to anybody that you can. Okay, I'm going to give their description right now. Now, I want to give all the information that we have about these two beautiful girls. Candy, whose given name is Candace, and Dawn, her given name is Darcel, both went missing August 26, 2002. Now, they're both about 5'6", 140 pounds, dark hair and dark eyes. They were last seen at the Blockbuster store at 7541 Garner Ferry Road in Columbia, South Carolina. They were driving a white 1999 Ford Escort with South Carolina plate 676 HKG. Please, if you have any information at all, no matter how inconsequential, it only takes one tiny little thing to break these cases wide open. So please, call the Center for Missing Adults. It's 1-800-690-FIND. Please, we need to get these girls back. Now, up next, we'll meet a mother who was told her beloved daughter had been dropped off near her home at 4:30 in the morning on February 17th, 2001. But her daughter hasn't come home, and no one seems to know what happened. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're never the same. They can be 13 or they can be 30. You know, the nights are sleepless. At the end of the day, it's terrible. Getting up is terrible. And you wonder what you did wrong.
We all know that lots of kids and young adults like to stay out late, and sometimes they don't come home when they're supposed to. I have a daughter in college. I have a teenage son in high school. That's normal behavior. But the people we're talking about today didn't ever come home, and their parents are frantically searching for answers. Nancy Eklund said goodbye to her daughter, Lindsay, on Friday, February 16, 2001, and she hasn't seen her since. Nancy told us about her daughter. Please watch this.
Lindsay isn't just my daughter. She is my best friend. And when she disappeared 20 months ago, everything meaningful in my life went with her. I feel like I'm dying inside, not knowing it's a part that's destroying me. We laugh together and we cry together. I hope and pray that one day my beautiful Lindsay will come back to me. Linz, if you can hear me, Mom misses you very much.
Okay? It was almost like a poem to your beautiful daughter. Tell me the circumstances. As you mentioned, you guys live together. Are you divorced or?
Yes, I am.
And you worked for, you and your daughter worked for the same company?
Yes.
Okay, what happened?
She worked part-time, and she went home around noon every day.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me from work and said that she had an opportunity to spend the night at a girlfriend's house.
Right.
Because Friday was our regular night that we went out to dinner. We didn't even discuss it. We just have done it for years and years. And he says, okay, well, let's go out to dinner tomorrow night. And she says, okay, I'll be home the next morning.
Okay, so she says goodbye and she goes to the girlfriend's house.
Yes, I was home when she left, and we hugged, and she said, "I love you, Mom," and nothing unusual. Last thing I said to her was, "Wear your seatbelt." I always said that to her when she left the house, without exception.
How did you find out that she didn't make it to her girlfriend's that night, or what happened that night?
I don't know really what happened. The communication with the police is very sparse, but I'm understanding now that it has to be that way. It's very frustrating. When she didn't come home or call, she always called me before she went to bed. If she stayed overnight at a girlfriend's house, she didn't call.
That was normal. So she'd call you and say, "I made it. I'm at my friend's house. We're going to bed."
Right.
Well, that's pretty thoughtful.
I thought maybe they went to a movie and got home a little late or something, and so she didn't call. I didn't really think anything of it until around noon the next day, because she taught English to foreign children. And when she had missed that appointment, that was very unusual.
So she doesn't show up, you're starting to wonder,
Right.
Then what happens?
Then I call the person that I thought she was spending the night with, and she said that she was dropped off the night before, that they decided to go to San Diego at the last minute. There was 4 of them, including my daughter. Well, she didn't come home, and I don't know what to do now. So I began...
But let me ask you a question. The girl you call, the house that she was supposed to stay over
Yes.
at, the girl says, "We went to San Diego," okay, and then what? This girl
Said that-
witnessed your daughter being dropped off?
No, she and her friend were dropped off before my daughter was supposedly left off.
So the last she saw was your daughter in a car with who?
A friend.
Okay, a friend, a male friend.
Yes.
Supposedly then what? Dropped her off?
Dropped her off at the corner, but we don't live at the corner. So that was my first question of why he would leave her off.
Wait, I got a big question, too, okay? She's 20 years old. It's okay for her to be out that late. This guy drops off 2 other people. They've been partying together, which is fine, and he doesn't bring her to the front door or drop her off? I mean, in today's society where we all know about serial killers and rapists and all the creeps that are out there, this guy says he dropped her off at the corner?
That's 2 houses down in the middle of the night, supposedly.
Okay. I don't get it, but let's go on. So you decide in that afternoon something's up. You know your daughter's behavior. You're very close.
Right.
You call the cops. What did the cops do?
They say we don't have any police report or any notification that has been an accident. So I called 31 hospitals between my home and San Diego.
So you started the search, but police hadn't been to your house yet or anything? They hadn't filed it?
No. And then I filed a police report,
Right.
and they said there wasn't really anything they could do because it was early on. Hadn't even been a complete day.
Okay, so the cops tell you got to wait, okay? She doesn't show up, and now she's a missing person. What happened after that?
I continued to call all of her friends
Right.
to see if she had gone there Saturday morning. Nobody had heard from her.
And what are the police telling you now?
It's an ongoing investigation with
As
the FBI.
they all are. Where is the young man that dropped her off? Is he still in the neighborhood, still living there?
Yes.
Etc.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. I give you all the credit in the world, and I'll give you the same advice I give to everybody else. You have every right to call up the police. Local police, FBI, DA's office, etc. It's your daughter. She's not just another case file. She's not just another picture. She's not just another missing person. You have the right to know. I don't like the way the criminal justice system treats victims, and I hate the way that it treats parents of missing adults. So you have the right to call. Do that. Do that. Do it. Our prayers are with you. Lindsay Eklund was last seen on February 17th, 2001 in Placentia, California. She's 5'7", 112 pounds, short brown hair, hazel eyes. Now her left arm and she has hand impairment and a tracheotomy scar. Now if you have any information, please call the Center for Missing Adults. You can call this number, 1-800-690-FIND. We need that tip to bring this girl back, please. Next, a story I know well. Tony left his home after he received a page in the middle of the night. His parents are here, and need to know what happened to their son. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Now, having a missing child is every parent's worst nightmare, no matter how old that child is. Sandy and Tony Urcioli are here with their daughter, Lisa, and their son, Tony Jr., has been missing since January 24th, 2001. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Know your pain. I wanted to have you guys on because I met you one time when I was out on the road. And I wanted our audience and people in the legislature know that it just doesn't happen to young women. Your son is 31 years old, right? He's an adult, and he was living with you when he went missing. Tell me a little bit about how he went missing.
Tell you the truth, I was sleeping that night.
Mm-hmm.
So he spoke to his father.
Dad, you were up.
Came home 11:30 at night, and I said, Anthony, how come you're home on a Wednesday night? He says, well, the diner said they didn't need me. He had been through college, and he thought about owning his own business, and we had been in business, but it was a rough go. So he says, Anthony, we've been there. And so he goes to bed 11:30, and says he's tired. We had a nice talk. And about a half hour later, he gets up, and he says, where you going?
It's okay. It's okay, Dad.
He says, my friend called, and I'm going to go shoot pool for an hour.
Because he worked at night, so that would be a normal thing for him to be out after work, to be with his friends, and he was 31 years old. This is a normal thing. So he tells you he's going to go shoot pool with his buddy.
He says, Anthony, I said, you're tired. He said, Dad, I never go out. I work 7 days a week. He says, as an Italian father, well, what time are you going to be home? He says, I'll be home in an hour. Just to shoot a game of pool, and I'll be back. So I said, okay. And he's the type of kid, it was his mother's birthday the day after. And he never spent the night away from home. And he said, I'll be home in an hour, Dad. I says, okay. I get up in the morning. Actually, Sandy got up first. And she says, Anthony's not home. Now this is 6:30. I immediately call the diner. I call whoever I can call. I call the cops, and what they tell me is, listen, he's an adult. I says, listen, you don't know my son.
Right.
And they discounted it. And I says, listen, you don't know this kid. For 2 weeks, justifiably so, they investigate the parents.
Which they have to. I mean, when Adam went missing, the first thing my wife and I had to do was go in for a polygraph test. They do that with a missing child, missing adult. They look at the family to see if there's something, but there has to be a parallel investigation. So anyway, they look at you.
And with all due respect, I know all the systems are overburdened.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's story is the same. It's an ongoing investigation. And what does that mean?
Right.
And you know what it means?
Nothing.
Nothing.
They've got nothing.
Nothing. Over 18, it goes in a big box.
Goes in what they call the round file.
Right. They got a box of nothing. And here it is 20 months later, and I have nothing.
Do you have any theories? Did he maybe hanging with the wrong crowd? Did you ever see him with the wrong guy?
I would assume so, because it's unrealistic that a 30-year-old would just disappear without a trace. We have no information. We don't know a thing about what could have possibly happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I've come to the conclusion that, unfortunately, he must have been murdered.
Yes.
Do the police have any suspects? Was he dating? Was he engaged? No? He dated, but...
Nothing.
Yeah.
He had nothing. His life was work.
work.
7 days a week, and this was one opportunity, and obviously people just don't disappear without a trace.
Right.
I don't believe in
But they
aliens.
do. That's the saddest thing is, that's the whole point of this show is, they do disappear without a trace.
But
Yeah.
it's got to be somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody
Right.
knows.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Somebody
Oh,
is a
absolutely.
culprit
Absolutely.
in every one of these instances.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
What's ironic is that we've gone through 5 detectives, and dollars later,
Oh,
private
on your
detectives
own.
on our
Right.
own,
Yes.
Navy SEALs.
no trace. No trace.
The not knowing is the worst. It's affected you physically, hasn't
Yes.
You're never the same. They can be 13 or they can be 30. You know, the nights are sleepless. I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, walking the floor since he's been missing. You know, at the end of the day, it's terrible. Getting up is terrible. And you wonder what you did wrong.
You didn't do anything wrong, though. You got to understand that these crimes are random crimes. You know that. You know that. And I can see how much you love this boy, and you just want to know. You just want to know. But you cannot spend 1 second of your time, as much as it's tearing you apart, thinking that you had anything to do with it or you could prevent it. You just have to think and focus in on one thing, who the real victim is, what you're trying to do, and that's Tony, and try to find out, you know, what happened to him. Maybe somebody knows somebody, because people always brag, they always say something, they always talk about it. Somebody knows something, you know, about what happened to Tony, and maybe they'll have the guts to come forward. And I'm telling them they can call anonymously. But let's talk about Tony. Here's what we know about Tony. He was last seen on January 24th, 2001 in Poughkeepsie, New York. He was 33 years old, 5'10", 140 pounds, dark brown hair, hazel eyes. I've said it this whole show. If you have any information, no matter how inconsequential you think it is, even if you don't think it's important, but it's something that you need to tell somebody about, please call this number. It's 1-800-690-FIND. And don't be afraid. You can remain anonymous. Have the guts to make that call. Next, their daughter left for San Francisco on her 18th birthday. And that was the last time they ever saw her. Parents who turned a tragedy into a triumph for families of missing adults. They'll be with us next. Stay with us. More than 200,000 men and women over the age of 18 are reported missing each year. Their cases don't get the exposure or the financial support that are needed. Now, Bob and Debbie Mota Ferry have been searching for their daughter, Kristen, since June of 1997, when she disappeared from the San Francisco area. Tell us a little bit, if you can condense it down, what happened that day.
Well, Kristen actually was away. She was a North Carolina State University student. She had completed her freshman year. She was there on a full academic scholarship, and she was encouraged by her professors, along with the other scholarship students, to do a summer adventure. And her adventure was to go to San Francisco, study photography, which she had always wanted to do. It went along with her major in the design school there, which was industrial design, and she was looking forward to it.
When did you find out that something was wrong or that she was missing?
We found out she went missing on a Monday, and we didn't find out that something was wrong until Thursday.
Why so long? Why 3 days?
Because the people she was living with felt that, you know, that maybe she went to visit a friend. They had met one of her other North Carolina friends that was there in that area, and they felt that she was with this other young woman. And they finally did call her, and the young woman said, well, let's wait until Wednesday evening because we have a dance class together. And when she didn't show up for the dance class, they filed a missing persons report with the police. And then still didn't call us because we're on East Coast time, and they just didn't call us. Well, Thursday morning I get a call from friends of Kristen in North Carolina who had were planning to go out to San Francisco to visit Kristen. And they said, we've been trying to call Kristen, have not gotten an answer, and she's not returned our calls. And I knew immediately that there was something wrong.
You jumped on a plane and went out there, didn't you?
Right. As soon as we could get flight arrangements, we were on a plane and we were flying to California with really not a lot of idea what we were going to do except anything we could think of to find our daughter.
And left 3 other daughters at home on their own.
And what did the cops say to you out there?
The investigators involved had gone home for the weekend. So we found, we managed to connect up with a private investigator. We spent the weekend working with the private investigator, but we weren't able to meet with the police until the following Monday. So we've lost an entire week.
It just drives me insane that when a person goes missing and you go to the police department, and that's not all police departments, and again, I love cops and there's a lot of good cops out there, but they tell you that, you know what, the investigator in charge of missing persons has gone home for the weekend. God forbid it was his daughter that was missing on that Saturday. God forbid. They'd be looking all over. Every cop on that force would be looking for that child. And you haven't heard anything since then, have you? Not one clue. But I know that you did something very, very commendable, much like my wife and I did. After Adam was missing and the FBI wouldn't get involved and law enforcement had the 24-hour wait, we were frustrated and angry. You started battling to change things for adults, for missing adults.
Well, we found out very quickly that there are very few organizations that will help missing adults. And when I called the National Center, the first question they asked me was, how old is Kristen? And I said, she just turned 18. Right. And the answer was, I'm sorry, we can't help you. And I said, give me the president, give me your director, give me somebody I can talk to. And they told me that it had to be changed, the law had to be changed congressionally.
Right, because it's federal mandate, it has to be 18 or under,
and
absolutely.
I said, it will happen.
Right.
That's what we'll do. We got started on Kristen's law, and we got 15,000 signatures on a petition and went to Washington and lobbied in Washington to change things.
And Kristen's law got passed, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Congratulations on Kristen's law. It's quite a legacy for this girl. Wherever she is, she's proud of you. I know that, absolutely. Okay, now, Kristen Mota Ferry was last seen on June 23rd, 1997 in San Francisco. She's 5'8", 140 pounds, brown eyes, shoulder-length dark hair, and distinct dimples. Now, if you have any information at all, please call the Center for Missing Adults, 1-800-690-FIND. Again, remember, you can remain anonymous. Now, on the morning of January 10th, 2002, 19-year-old Rachel Cook went for a run near her parents' home, and she hasn't been seen since. We'll meet her family when we come back. Stay with us. Now, we're talking to parents whose children are missing, but unlike most of the high-profile cases in the media today, their children are over 18, adults who vanished without a trace. 19-year-old Rachel Cook attended college in San Diego, but she came home on a vacation to Georgetown, Texas over Christmas break. Last year, one morning, she went for a jog, and she never came back. Rachel disappeared exactly 9 months ago today. Her parents, Janet and Robert, are here with their other daughter, Joanne. Appreciate you being here. Tell us a little bit about Rachel's disappearance, the day that it happened.
Well, the day it happened, I came home from school and her daddy had beat me home and she wasn't home. Her purse, her cell phone, all of her clothes were still there, but no Rachel. The only thing missing were her jogging clothes. And she jogged daily. So we thought maybe she was still out on a jog or something, but she wasn't.
She wasn't. Now, you come home from work, Dad?
Right.
In 5, 6 o'clock? No Rachel, right?
Right.
And, go ahead.
It was kind of curious because I was taking the following day off to be with her. It was her last full day before she flew back to California, and we were going to go shopping and go to eat at a vegetarian restaurant because Rachel was a vegetarian. And it was strange because she always called me during the day. She'd think up some reason to call me during the day at work, and that day she didn't call.
So you get home that night, you realize something's up? Were you worried? Nervous?
Yes, we were extremely worried, and we started calling some of her friends. She was supposed to go out with one of her friends. We called her. She had not heard from Rachel. And then Janet called a restaurant in town where Rachel sometimes filled in for pocket money, and they said that Rachel had worked that night and had just gotten off. And so we thought, okay, well, maybe she caught a ride with a friend or somebody at the restaurant and she'd be home. But that never happened.
When did you call the police?
We waited till the following day because of that tip from the restaurant, but Janet ended up calling the restaurant the next day, and it found out it was a different Rachel that worked that night.
Wasn't even your daughter?
No.
So all night long, this time is going by, crucial time,
Yes.
You're thinking your daughter subbed or worked at this restaurant that she did periodically, wasn't even your daughter.
Right.
So now you call the cops, they come to the house, right?
No. We went in, and a sergeant came out, filled out a little...
You went to the police department?
Yeah, we went to the sheriff's department. He filled out, well, he didn't fill out a form. He scratched some things on the back of a piece of paper. He said an investigator would contact us. We thought that was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We thought it would be that day. They never called.
What kind of a sheriff's department is that?
One that needs to be prompted.
Prompted is a nice word, I know. Okay. So what happens the next day? Now you got to be absolutely at your wits' ends.
When I found out that Rachel had not been working at Wildfire, we immediately knew something was terribly, terribly wrong. Rachel was not one to go out without letting us know.
What do you think?
Well, it's just really hard because she was my best friend, and there's no one like her. I mean, we got along, like, really well, and we would do things together that it's just not the same.
Think about her a lot?
All the time.
Pray for her. What's the latest? What do the police say?
Well, they're back to looking for a white sports car, a suspicious car with 2 guys in it that were seen in the neighborhood that day, and even I found out the day before. So it could be the case that somebody had been watching Rachel. As we said, she ran approximately same time every day, same route.
Well, our prayers are with you. Our prayers are with you because you're doing like the other parents here. You're focusing on the most important thing, who the real victim is. You're here and you're trying to do the best you can for Rachel. And so are you. We're proud of you. I know you're trying real hard and to keep yourself together. So let's go through the facts about Rachel. Rachel Cook, now 20 years old. She's been missing since January 10th, 2002 at 11 a.m. She's 5'2", about 120 pounds. Blonde hair with auburn streaks. She's got hazel eyes, multiple piercings on her ears, and she has a navel piercing. She has tattoos, 2 heart-shaped cherries on her left shoulder, and a black star on her left foot. Now, if you have any information, and again I say any information, please call the Center for Missing Adults. That's 1-800-690-FIND. And remember, you can remain anonymous. Next, what people can do if an adult in their lives is missing. It's information you won't want to miss. Stay with us. What do you do if your grown child is missing? Well, this whole show's been about that, and I'll tell you, it's a very frustrating thing. Kym Pasqualini is the founder and the president of the nation's Missing Children Organization and Center for Missing Adults. Thanks for being here. Now, before you tell us about your organization, when you were younger, you had a close call with one of these creeps, didn't you?
I did. I was 8. I lived in a very rural area of Northern California and was dropped off by a school bus, and a man had approached me and told me to come to his vehicle. In those days, we weren't told don't approach strangers, and I did, and he tried to pull me into his vehicle by knife point. I survived that, but it's haunted me all of these years that there are unsolved disappearances of children that have never been never been solved.
You're surely one of the lucky ones that you got away from him, even though he had a knife, and we're glad you're here. But tell us a little bit about your center, because this has been a problem for all these years. It's still a problem, and you, because of Kristen's law, you finally got some federal money to start working on missing adults. Tell us a little bit about the center.
We started off as a missing child agency in '94, and very quickly in '95 we expanded our charter. Now, you're very familiar with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They have offered their guidance over the years to us, so we've really modeled ourselves after them. With Bob and Deborah Mota Ferry coming forward and really sharing their story nationwide, it has passed a law that has now granted our agency $1.575 million. That's over a 24-month period to establish the first national clearinghouse in the country for missing adults.
You've got your work cut out for you, I'll tell you that, but thank God for the Mota Ferries here for taking action, I'll tell you that. God bless you. Okay. Quickly, what happens if you have a missing adult?
Sadly enough, this is typical. You know, it's contacting law enforcement. You did all of that. You have to work cooperatively with law enforcement. But I commend every single one of these parents and family members, because you are your missing loved one's advocate. You are their voice, and they don't have one right now. So that's what you have to do. And I know you repeatedly tell families that. Go out, yell, scream, get the attention that you need. We're trying as a center to address this with providing training to law enforcement and really getting out there and becoming proactive. But you are the advocates that need to be commended.
Absolutely. Thank you that you're there. Okay, who's got a question up here?
Hi. My question was directed at the first family who lost 2 daughters. I was wondering if you guys, the police, have given you any leads, or are there any suspects? Has anyone seen the 2 girls at the video store talk with anyone suspicious or leave with anyone?
Well, the manager that was on that night was contacted. She said that she saw Dawn get in the car with Candy, and Candy sat in the car like she normally does, and she was in her pajamas, so she would not, her intention was not to get out of the car. But the manager of the store did see Candy Dawn get in the car with Candy, and they drove off in the same direction they normally do in order to come home.
The car was never found, right? Correct. So many times when foul play's involved, they dump the car with the people in them. Is there big bodies of water or canals or ponds around your house, close by?
Well, the only thing that I am aware of is the Congaree River, and I went there myself, but of course I can't go under the water, but I went into the area there, and it is so large, all I could do was ride around. They did not skim or comb the rivers yet.
Prayers are with you.
This is for Rachel's parents. If she lived in California, she must have come home often if she ran in a normal area and her clothes was missing from where it normally was. Was she home often, that often, that she was able to substitute at a restaurant that she'd worked at before she went to college?
Yes, she substituted there. She worked at the restaurant in our hometown of Georgetown when she was in high school, and Joanne still works at the same restaurant. And she was just substituting for during that time frame when she was home.
This is for the family with the son that's missing. I know you said that he was a very hard worker and he worked all the time. I mean, did they really interrogate the people that he worked with at the diner? Because you know someone knows something.
Without a doubt. And the cover-up, the co-workers. I mean, this kid was called on 20 hours out of 24 to work in this diner. And everybody loved him. Everybody knew him. And nobody has the heart to tell us. My feeling is that he was duped. Yeah. I mean, I pray to God that he walks through the door or whatever happened.
Well, our prayers are with you too.
On the other hand, it's just like I told the cops, this is not him. He would not do this. He wouldn't do this to his mother. It was my birthday the weekend. It's not him. He was a model son.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
So nice of you. We all feel that way about you. And what bothers me the most is that I always hear the same thing. I talked to the police and I could prove to them what a good kid this was, but they said, well, you know, they could have run here, they could have gone there. I would like to see the law enforcement community think of one thing. If it was your child, you'd be much more involved, and you do not have the right to arbitrarily assume that that child chose to run away. You just don't have that right. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I'm so glad these families shared their stories with us and told us about their beautiful children. I know you could see their pain. And I hope that the people watching this show will call the Center for Missing Adults at 1-800-690-FIND to help bring these missing kids home. You can learn more about the organization and get local numbers for each of the cases we talked about today. You can find all that information on our website at johnwalsh.tv. Now, each week we show you photos of missing kids under 18. Well, today I'm going to show you some photos of some missing adults. So please call 1-800-690-FIND if you know anything at all. Thanks a lot for watching. Please stay safe. We'll see you next time.
On the next all-new Caroline Ray Show, Caroline chats with actress Vanessa L. Williams. Currently in Broadway's Into the Woods. Then at 4, don't miss a full hour of Pyramid, the Valley's favorite game show. And coming up at 5, see why more Arizonans watch 12 News than any other local news. 12 stands for local news.